Chapter 1. The Quiet Edge. Why Silence is Your Superpower. The Modern Noise Trap. In today's hyper-connected world, silence is almost treated like an anomaly, something to be avoided at all costs. We live in a culture where visibility is often confused with value. Every step is broadcasted, every goal announced, and every small success paraded for the world to see. Platforms reward loudness. Algorithms favor constant content. Personal brands are built on attention rather than actual results. And in this environment, it's easy to believe that if people don't see you working, you aren't making progress. But the loudness of the world is not where power is found. True power is forged in the quiet, in the private hours of focused work, in the silence between intention and action, in the invisible decisions to keep going long after the applause has faded. The most unstoppable people in any field have one thing in common. They do their most important work in silence. They are not distracted by external opinions or the need for constant validation. They understand that progress thrives in privacy. What makes silence a superpower? Silence is not simply the absence of noise, it's a strategic choice. When you choose silence, you are choosing focus over distraction, execution over explanation, mastery over visibility, internal validation over external approval. Silence protects your energy. It shields your goals from unnecessary opinions. It prevents premature praise from diluting your motivation. Most importantly, silence ensures that your energy is spent on action, not announcements. When you embrace silence, you free yourself from the weight of other people's expectations. You no longer have to justify your pace, your process, or your ambitions. Without the need to constantly explain yourself, all your mental bandwidth is redirected to what actually matters, the work itself. The illusion of early applause. There's a strange phenomenon that happens when you talk too much about your goals. Your brain mistakes talking for progress. Every time you announce an intention, you get a small psychological reward, a burst of dopamine, as if you've already done something. That false sense of accomplishment can be seductive. It can make you feel productive without actually being productive. When the applause comes too early, before you've built anything real, it drains the urgency to follow through. This is why the loudest dreamers are often the poorest executors. They have traded momentum for attention. They chase the validation of being seen working, rather than the satisfaction of actually doing the work. The hidden freedom of moving in silence. When you work in silence, you are free. No one can measure you against their own timelines. No one can impose their doubts, fears, or limitations on your progress. You are no longer performing for an audience, which means you can experiment, make mistakes, pivot, and rebuild, all without unnecessary scrutiny. This kind of freedom is rare in a world obsessed with constant exposure. But it's also one of the most valuable assets you can cultivate. When you control your narrative, when you reveal your progress only when it's undeniable, you maintain the upper hand. You become unpredictable, uncontrollable, and unstoppable. Silence is your shield. It protects your vision from interference, your ambition from corruption, and your momentum from premature praise. While the rest of the world is busy performing progress, you are actually making it. The mental clarity that silence creates. Beyond strategy, there's another profound benefit to working in silence: mental clarity. Every time you invite unnecessary opinions into your process, you create mental noise. Every time you seek premature validation, you dilute your internal compass. When you stop explaining yourself, you create space to actually listen to yourself. You reconnect with your own reasons, your own standards, your own internal measure of success. You stop building for applause and start building for meaning. This clarity is priceless. It allows you to stay aligned with your deeper purpose, not the fleeting trends or shifting opinions of the crowd. When you don't need permission to proceed, you move faster, make bolder choices, and trust your own instincts. Silence and the power of underestimation. There's another secret advantage to silence. You become underestimated. When you don't broadcast every step, people assume you aren't making progress. When you don't announce your every move, competitors assume you aren't moving. This gives you the element of surprise, a tactical advantage in any field. While others waste time reacting to each other's updates, you're building uninterrupted. You're free to refine your craft without being compared, copied, or sabotaged. By the time they notice you, it's already too late. You've built something too solid to be shaken, too real to be ignored. Why the loudest people often burn out. There's a common pattern among people who constantly announce their plans. They rarely follow through. The reason is simple. They burn their emotional fuel too early. Every announcement gives them a hit of dopamine, a false sense of achievement. By the time they need to actually do the work, the emotional high has faded, and so has their motivation. Silent workers, by contrast, conserve their emotional energy. They don't burn it on empty declarations. They channel all of it into the work itself. They build momentum privately, feeding off their own progress rather than public approval. The result? They last longer. They work harder. And they finish stronger. Examples of silent power in action. Elite athletes. Their most transformative training happens long before the cameras arrive. World-class entrepreneurs. Their biggest deals are made before anyone knows they exist. Groundbreaking artists. Their most original work is created in the solitude of their own minds. The pattern is clear. The real work, the work that changes lives and shapes legacies, happens in silence. How to start embracing silence. If you've spent years seeking approval, silence might feel uncomfortable at first. That's normal. But discomfort is often a sign that growth is happening. Here's how to begin reclaiming the power of silence. Resist the urge to announce. Every time you feel the need to share a goal or plan, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to announce this for my own clarity or for external approval? Keep your circle small. If you need support, choose a handful of people you trust implicitly, not the entire internet. Create before you reveal. Don't talk about the book you're writing until it's finished. Don't announce the project until it's launched. Let your work speak for itself. Detach from opinions. The fewer people who know your process, the fewer opinions you'll have to filter. Protect your vision. Let results do the talking. When you produce undeniable results, you'll never need to explain yourself. The mindset shift. From performer to producer. Ultimately, working in silence is about shifting your identity. It's about becoming someone who produces, rather than someone who performs. A builder, not a broadcaster. A creator, not a commentator. It's a mindset built on self-trust, the belief that your work matters, even if no one sees it. That your progress is valid, even if no one applauds it. And that your success will come, not because you advertised it, but because you earned it. Closing thought. In a world obsessed with noise, silence is the ultimate rebellion. It's a declaration of self-trust. It's a commitment to process over performance. It's a reminder that real power doesn't need a spotlight, because it shines all on its own. Move in silence. Work in silence. Succeed in silence. And let your results be the only announcement you'll ever need. Chapter 2. Building in the Dark. Private Growth Over Public Performance. The Age of Constant Display. We live in an era where self-presentation has become an art form. Progress is no longer private. It's curated, filtered, and packaged for consumption. Fitness transformations, career milestones, even personal growth journeys are shared step by step for likes, comments, and validation. The world doesn't just reward success, it rewards the performance of success. People feel compelled to announce every goal, every struggle, and every minor achievement in order to prove they are evolving. This obsession with performing progress is the ultimate trap. When your growth becomes a performance, your attention shifts from internal mastery to external approval. You start adjusting your actions based on how they look, rather than how much they contribute to your development. The work becomes a show, and the show stunts the work. Private growth is the antidote. Real, lasting transformation doesn't happen under a spotlight. It happens in the dark, where no one sees, where no applause can interrupt the process. Why private growth is more powerful than public validation. 1. Private growth builds unshakable confidence. When you grow in silence, you build a foundation no one can shake. Your confidence isn't built on compliments or recognition. It's built on evidence. You know you've put in the work. You know you've sacrificed, practiced, failed, and refined yourself, not because anyone saw, but because you were there for every step. This kind of confidence is rare. Most people's confidence is fragile because it depends on constant external reinforcement. Take away the likes, the followers, the applause, and their sense of progress crumbles. But private growth is immune to external forces. It's built from the inside out, untouchable by public opinion. 2. Public growth invites premature validation. Every time you announce a goal, you trigger a premature reward. The praise you receive for wanting to change often dilutes the urgency to actually change. It's the illusion of progress, the feeling that because people have acknowledged your intention, you've already achieved something. But true growth doesn't happen when you announce your plans. It happens when you silently execute them. Private growth keeps you grounded in the reality that no one owes you applause for intentions. Only results matter. 3. Private growth preserves authenticity. When your growth is private, your only focus is who you're becoming, not how that growth looks to others. There's no need to package your struggles into inspiring captions or filter your failures into palatable lessons. Private growth allows you to own the messy parts, the insecurities, the doubts, the slow progress. You don't have to perform strength when you feel weak. You don't have to look confident when you feel lost. This authenticity gives you the freedom to grow for real, not just for show. The trap of identity performance. Publicly documenting your self-improvement can create a psychological trap, the performance of identity change. When you constantly share your progress, you start to associate the identity you want with how others see you, instead of who you're actually becoming. You start living the story you're telling, rather than the story you're living. The danger is subtle but powerful. The pressure to maintain your improving self can become greater than the actual desire to improve. You become a character in your own story, performing strength, performing wisdom, performing transformation, all to sustain the public narrative. Private growth eliminates this conflict. You are free to evolve at your own pace, without worrying about contradicting an image you've already broadcasted. Growth becomes personal again, not performance art. Why privacy fuels discipline. Discipline thrives in environments of clarity. When you remove the need to package your process for an audience, your focus sharpens. You're no longer navigating two paths, the path of real progress and the path of public storytelling. There is only one, the internal path of mastery. Without the distraction of likes, shares, and comments, you have more emotional energy to invest in the work itself. Fewer external opinions to confuse your priorities. A deeper connection to your own motivations, unfiltered by trends or applause. Discipline becomes an internal contract, not a public performance. You show up every day, not because anyone is watching, but because you made a promise to yourself. And that's the kind of discipline that lasts. The invisible nature of real mastery. The world only sees the outcome of mastery, the finished product, the championship moment, the public recognition. What they never see is the private process that made it possible. The musician practicing scales for hours, with no audience. The entrepreneur refining strategies in silence before any product launch. The athlete waking up at 4 a.m. to train when no one is filming. Mastery is invisible by nature. It's not something you perform, it's something you earn. And it's only visible when the results become undeniable. When you shift your focus from being seen improving to actually improving, you stop chasing quick wins. You stop broadcasting surface-level changes for instant applause. Instead, you commit to deep, structural change, the kind that can't be summarized in a post, the kind that changes you at your core. Practical ways to build in private. 1. Set silent goals. Make a habit of setting goals without sharing them. When you resist the urge to announce your plans, you create a vacuum, a space where only action can fill the gap. 2. Track progress privately. Create a personal system to track your progress that no one else sees, a journal, a private document, or a simple notebook. Let your progress be your own reward, not public applause. 3. Limit who knows your process. If you need accountability, choose a very small circle of people you trust, those who understand the importance of privacy and support you without needing updates. 4. Learn in silence. Study, practice, and refine your craft without documenting every step. When you remove the pressure to perform your learning, you create a safer space to make mistakes, experiment, and grow. 5. Let results announce you. The ultimate flex is progress so undeniable it requires no announcement. When your results speak for themselves, they carry more weight than any caption or video ever could. The psychological rewards of private growth. When you grow privately, you build self-trust. You learn to rely on your own approval, not the crowd's. Emotional independence. Your self-worth becomes untethered from social validation. Resilience. Without public performance to maintain, setbacks become easier to process, because there's no audience to impress. Authentic pride. You know exactly what you overcame, even if no one else does. This kind of quiet confidence is unshakable. It's the type of power that doesn't need to be advertised because it's embedded into who you've become. Final word. Redefining success. What if success wasn't something you had to prove? What if it was something you could simply live? What if your worth wasn't tied to how much progress you displayed, but how deeply you evolved, whether anyone saw it or not? That's the freedom of private growth. It's the freedom to change, to evolve, to fall and rise again, all without needing an audience to validate your journey. In a world obsessed with public progress, private growth is revolutionary. Build in the dark. Let your results shine in the light. Chapter 3. Mastering Consistency. Small moves, big results. The fantasy of instant success. The world loves the myth of overnight success. The viral artist, the startup millionaire, the breakout athlete who seemingly came from nowhere. What these stories always leave out are the invisible years, the relentless hours of work, the setbacks no one saw, the doubts no one heard, and the slow, almost imperceptible progress made when there was no guarantee of success. True mastery, the kind that stands the test of time, isn't born from dramatic breakthroughs. It's born from the compounding power of quiet, consistent effort. It's the product of showing up day after day, often without visible results, trusting that every small action is stacking toward something greater than the sum of its parts. Consistency is not glamorous. It does not crave attention. It thrives in silence, in the quiet commitment to keep working when no one notices and nothing seems to be happening. But consistency is also the most powerful force available to anyone willing to embrace it. The silent power of daily reps. If success could be reduced to a single equation, it would look something like this. Effort x time, plus consistency equals mastery. Talent matters. But even talent is nothing without application. The most gifted person in the world will be outworked and outperformed by the less talented person who executes consistently over time. Every small action, whether it's writing a paragraph, making 10 cold calls, or practicing a skill for 30 minutes, seems insignificant in isolation. But string those actions together, day after day, week after week, year after year, and they become unstoppable momentum. Consistency turns invisible actions into visible excellence. Example: the iceberg effect. Imagine an iceberg floating in the ocean. The visible tip, what the world sees, is just a fraction of its full size. Beneath the surface lies the massive, hidden foundation that holds it up. Your success works the same way. The public only sees the visible achievements, the awards, the milestones, the finished products. They never see the quiet hours of practice, the evenings spent refining your craft, the silent grind that made it all possible. Without consistency, there is no hidden foundation. Without that foundation, the tip of the iceberg, your visible success, never emerges. Why consistency is hard, and why most people avoid it. The reason most people fail at consistency is simple. It's boring. There's no immediate reward for writing 200 words today. There's no applause for completing a single workout. The world rarely notices the small steps. It only celebrates the finished product. This disconnect between action and reward is why so many people quit before real progress even starts. But those who understand the power of consistency don't need external rewards to stay motivated. They've rewired their mindset to crave progress, not praise. They learn to love the process itself. This is what separates silent achievers from the rest. They find meaning in the act of showing up, even when nothing exciting happens. The compound effect. Why small actions create massive results. Consistency works because of compounding. The mathematical principle that small gains, applied consistently over time, create exponential results. Here's how it works in practice. Reading 10 pages a day may not seem like much. But over a year, that's 3,650 pages, the equivalent of 15 to 20 books. Writing 500 words a day may feel small. But in 6 months, you'll have a 90,000-word manuscript. Investing 30 minutes a day into a new skill adds up to over 180 hours of focused practice in a year. The power is not in any single day's effort. The power is in the stacking. Each effort builds on the last until the weight of your accumulated work becomes undeniable. The world rarely applauds daily consistency, but it never ignores compounded excellence. Emotional detachment. Doing the work without needing immediate results. One of the greatest enemies of consistency is impatience. Most people expect results far too soon. They want to see tangible progress after a week, or even a day. When they don't, they lose faith in the process and quit. Silent achievers understand that the early stages of any pursuit are often invisible. The first 50 workouts may show no physical change. The first 100 cold calls may yield no clients. The first 20 YouTube videos may get almost no views. But those willing to persist, to keep showing up, even in the absence of results, are the ones who eventually break through. This is the power of emotional detachment. Consistency becomes easier when you stop expecting quick validation and start seeing the process itself as the reward. Building identity through consistency. There's a hidden benefit to daily consistency. It rewires your identity. Every time you show up, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who honors commitments, prioritizes progress over comfort, trusts the process even when it's invisible. Over time, consistency becomes part of your character. Not just something you do, but who you are. This shift is critical because the strongest motivator isn't goals, it's identity alignment. When you see yourself as someone who consistently executes, you no longer need to get motivated. You just do the work because it's who you are. The role of systems in consistency. Most people fail at consistency because they rely too much on willpower. But willpower is a limited resource. It depletes with every decision you make. Silent achievers solve this by removing decision-making from the equation. They create systems, routines, and environments that make consistent action automatic. Some examples. Writing at the same time every morning. Having workout clothes laid out the night before. Pre-scheduling time blocks for creative work. Tracking progress in a simple, visual format. When consistency becomes a habit, it stops feeling like effort. It becomes part of your daily rhythm. The confidence loop. Consistency also creates a feedback loop of confidence. Every small action proves you are capable. That proof strengthens your belief in yourself. That belief fuels more consistent action. More action creates more progress, reinforcing the cycle. Confidence isn't something you get before starting. It's something you earn through the daily act of showing up, even when you doubt yourself. Real-world examples of consistent masters. Kobe Bryant. Known for his relentless work ethic, Kobe wasn't just talented, he was consistent in ways few could match. Before the cameras arrived, he was already hours into practice. His consistency turned raw talent into undeniable greatness. J.K. Rowling. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter in one marathon session. She wrote in stolen moments, day after day, consistently adding words even when no one cared who she was. Those quiet hours built a billion-dollar legacy. Warren Buffett. Buffett's wealth wasn't built on dramatic stock picks. It was built on decades of consistent, disciplined investing. His success wasn't flashy. It was compounding in silence. How to build relentless consistency. Lower the bar. Start small. Consistency thrives when the task feels manageable. Track visible progress. Even if the world can't see it, you need to see it. Detach from early results. Focus on streaks, not outcomes. Create unbreakable routines. Same time, same place, every day. Celebrate streaks, not wins. The fact that you showed up is more important than how well you did. Final word. Invisibility before impact. Every great work, every masterpiece, every empire, Every personal transformation begins invisibly. Before it is undeniable, it is unseen. Before it is praised, it is ignored. The bridge between invisibility and undeniable impact is consistency. Silent achievers understand this. They don't chase quick wins, viral moments, or early applause. They master the daily rhythm of quiet work, trusting that the compound effect will turn those invisible hours into visible greatness. Show up today. Show up tomorrow. Show up the day after that. Not for attention. Not for validation. Just for the quiet satisfaction of knowing that the work is being done. Because in the end, what you do consistently is who you become. Chapter 4. Emotional Independence. Cutting the cord to approval. The approval addiction. We are conditioned, from childhood to adulthood, to crave approval. As children, we seek praise from parents and teachers. Gold stars, applause at school plays, and parental pride become the first external markers of our worth. As teenagers, we shift our hunger for approval to peers, wanting acceptance, popularity, validation. Then, as adults, this craving migrates into the workplace, relationships, and especially social media, where external opinions are served to us in real time, 24/7. This constant reinforcement creates a dangerous dependency. We begin outsourcing our sense of worth to external approval. We measure progress based on likes, applause, and validation, rather than internal standards. This approval addiction is the opposite of power. It makes your confidence fragile, your motivation conditional, and your decisions reactive. Instead of living for purpose, you start living for applause. To succeed in silence, you must cut this cord. Emotional independence is the foundation of quiet power, the ability to validate yourself, set your own standards, and pursue your path without needing anyone's approval. Why approval is a silent prison. On the surface, approval feels harmless, even helpful. Who doesn't want encouragement or recognition? But beneath the surface, approval seeking has dangerous side effects. 1. Approval chains your identity to others' expectations. When you crave constant feedback, you naturally adjust your actions to fit what will earn applause, even if it means compromising your real desires. You stop asking, "What do I truly want?" and start asking, "What will they approve of?" This subtle shift can steal your life. You pursue careers, relationships, and goals that fit the mold others celebrate, but feel hollow to you. Approval-driven people lose themselves chasing applause. 2. Approval creates emotional volatility. When your self-worth depends on external feedback, you become emotionally unstable, high on praise, crushed by criticism. A single negative comment can derail your confidence. A lack of applause feels like failure. Emotionally independent people are different. Their confidence flows from internal alignment, not external approval. They set their own measures of success, and they stay grounded regardless of public opinion. 3. Approval distracts you from deep work. The need for constant validation makes deep focus almost impossible. Instead of fully immersing yourself in work, you pause to check how it's being received. You crave feedback, so you rush to share half-finished ideas instead of patiently refining them in private. When you cut the need for approval, you regain the mental space and creative freedom to build something great, even if no one sees it for years. The mindset shift. Internal approval over external praise. Emotional independence doesn't mean ignoring all feedback or isolating yourself from constructive input. It means you become the primary source of your own validation. Instead of waiting for someone to tell you you're doing well, you build your own inner scoreboard, and you trust it. This mindset shift is the foundation of silent success. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need applause to feel worthy. Your work, and the quiet pride you take in it, becomes enough. The psychological traps of approval seeking. 1. The performative persona. When you seek approval, you create a public version of yourself designed to attract praise. This persona might be more polished, more likable, but also less authentic. This gap between your real self and your performed self creates constant anxiety. You're always wondering if the real you would still be loved if it was exposed. This performance drains your energy and fractures your sense of self. 2. Dependency feedback loops. Approval seeking becomes a loop. You post a win, you get applause, you feel good, until the applause stops. Then you chase the next external validation hit. Over time, your self-worth becomes entirely dependent on others noticing your progress. This is why so many people collapse when public validation fades. They have no internal structure to hold themselves up. 3. Paralysis by opinion overload. When you invite too many opinions into your process, you become paralyzed. Every step forward comes with a dozen conflicting opinions, doubts, and criticisms. Approval seekers drown in external noise, making them hesitant, reactive, and uncertain. Emotionally independent people move differently. They gather input selectively, and they trust their own judgment above all. Emotional independence and quiet mastery. The people who build real success, the kind that lasts decades, rarely ask for applause along the way. They aren't driven by praise because they're driven by purpose. Their work is too important to dilute with performance. This emotional independence allows for uncompromised creativity. You can pursue bold, unconventional ideas without worrying how they'll be received. Resilience under pressure. Criticism, doubt, and lack of support don't derail you, because you validate yourself. Long-term vision. You can work for years in obscurity because you don't need quick rewards. Silent success depends on this kind of inner stability. Without it, the need for applause will constantly pull you off course. How to build emotional independence. 1. Set your own standards. Create personal definitions of success that don't depend on external approval. Instead of, "I'll know I'm doing well when people say so," reframe it to, "I'll know I'm doing well when I hit these internal benchmarks." Track progress privately, based on your values, not social applause. 2. Embrace internal conversations. Approval seekers constantly wonder, what will they think? Shift the conversation. What do I think? Does this align with who I want to become? Am I proud of how I'm showing up, even if no one sees? Would I pursue this if I couldn't tell anyone? When your internal conversation matters more than public feedback, emotional independence grows. 3. Practice internal validation. Celebrate silent wins. Did you stick to your writing schedule all week? That matters, even if no one noticed. Did you handle a difficult situation with grace? That's worth celebrating, even if no one applauded. Internal validation strengthens the muscle of self-respect, making external approval unnecessary. 4. Limit external exposure. If you constantly expose yourself to public feedback, you condition yourself to crave it. Break the cycle by building in silence. Sharing only finished work, not every step. Protecting your process from unnecessary input. What no one sees, no one can judge, and that's where your power grows. 5. Develop private pride. The most powerful people aren't the ones constantly praised. They're the ones who know who they are whether anyone approves or not. Build private pride, the deep, quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you honored your own standards, even if no one clapped. Case study. Silent builders. Jeff Bezos, early Amazon. In Amazon's earliest days, Bezos wasn't performing progress. There were no social updates about every milestone. He simply built relentlessly, guided by internal conviction. When the results became undeniable, the world noticed. Serena Williams. Serena's greatness wasn't born on center court. It was built in private training sessions, in the quiet discipline of showing up, long before applause arrived. That emotional independence made her unshakable. The quiet innovators. The inventors, creators, and pioneers who changed the world often work in obscurity for years, motivated not by external recognition, but by an internal need to see their vision come to life. Final thought, internal freedom is real freedom. When you no longer need applause, you are free. Free to pursue ideas others don't understand. Free to work at your own pace. Free to fail, learn, and try again without shame. Free to build a life based on meaning, not approval. Emotional independence isn't just a mindset, it's a form of liberation. It's the ultimate power move, needing nothing from anyone to validate who you are and what you're building. When you cut the cord to approval, you step into the quiet power of working for your own respect. And that's the kind of confidence no one can take away. Work quietly. Approve yourself. Let your results handle the rest. Chapter 5. Let actions speak. The power of results over words. The age of empty declarations. We live in a time where people confuse talking about success with creating it. Goals are tweeted before they're pursued. Announcements of big plans flood social feeds long before any actual work is done. In a culture obsessed with publicizing intentions, it's easy to mistake declaring progress for making progress. But declarations are cheap. Promises require no skill. Grand statements cost nothing. And ultimately, the world doesn't remember what you said you would do. It remembers what you actually did. Silent success is built on this principle. Say less. Do more. Let your results handle the talking. Why talking dilutes execution? Every time you announce a plan or a goal, you get a hit of validation, a small reward from others who applaud your ambition. That early praise feels good, but it's deceptive. It satisfies the desire for progress before any real work has happened. Psychologically, your brain registers praise for intention almost the same way it registers praise for accomplishment. The problem: that premature sense of accomplishment weakens your drive to actually follow through. This is the illusion of progress, a trap many fall into. They talk so much about what they plan to do, they lose the hunger to actually do it. The solution is simple. Talk less. Work more. The psychological advantage of silence. When you stop broadcasting every step, you gain a psychological advantage that most people will never understand. By keeping your plans private, you remove external pressure. No one can judge your timeline. Protect your motivation. You aren't performing progress to please others. Preserve your energy. Every ounce of effort stays focused on execution, not storytelling. Silence is a performance-free zone. You aren't working to impress anyone. You're working to improve yourself. This inner focus creates a level of clarity and momentum that public performers can't match. When results speak, they speak loudly. When you work quietly and build relentlessly, something powerful happens. Your results become self-evident. You don't have to argue for your value. You don't have to beg for recognition. The work itself commands respect. Results have a language all their own, a language far more powerful than words. A fit body speaks louder than gym selfies. A successful business speaks louder than plans and pitches. Mastery of a skill speaks louder than promises to get serious. People may question words. They may doubt promises. But they cannot argue with results that stand in front of them. The power of being underestimated. One of the greatest side benefits of working in silence is that people will underestimate you. If you aren't broadcasting every step, they assume you aren't making progress. If you aren't constantly proving yourself, they assume you aren't a threat. That's perfect. When people underestimate you, they leave you alone. They don't interfere, copy, or sabotage your work. You're free to build uninterrupted, under the radar, gaining skill, leverage, and momentum. Then, when your results emerge, they hit with the force of a surprise attack, undeniable, unarguable, and impossible to ignore. Actions are unfiltered truth. Words are easy to manipulate. You can spin a story, exaggerate progress, or present yourself as more accomplished than you really are. But actions, real, tangible results, have no filter. When you let actions speak, they tell the whole story. How disciplined you are. How resilient you've been. How committed you've stayed. How much work you actually put in. There's no editing real results. They are the purest expression of who you are, not who you claim to be. Why loud promises erode credibility? The more someone talks about what they're going to do, the less seriously the world takes them. Why? Because real executors are too busy working to constantly announce. The loudest people are often the ones doing the least. Their noise is a smokescreen for lack of action. In contrast, people who consistently deliver without fanfare develop reputation capital. Their word carries weight, not because they hype themselves up, but because their track record speaks for itself. When you build that kind of quiet reputation, You don't have to convince anyone of anything. Your history of execution does all the convincing. The magnetic power of proven results. People are naturally drawn to results, not promises. When you become someone who delivers, consistently, quietly, and effectively, you create a gravitational pull. Opportunities find you. Partnerships seek you out. Respect comes without asking. Why? Because results build trust, and trust is the ultimate currency. People trust doers, not talkers. Shifting identity, from speaker to doer. The transition from needing to announce plans to becoming someone who simply executes is an identity shift. It's the moment you stop defining yourself by your ambitions and start defining yourself by your actions. This shift requires two things. Detachment from external validation. You must care more about progress than praise. A ruthless commitment to your own standards. You hold yourself accountable, even when no one is watching. When you build this internal identity, someone who shows up and delivers regardless of external attention, you become unstoppable. You no longer need motivation or applause. The act of delivering becomes part of who you are. The work ethic of silent giants. Michael Jordan. Jordan's obsession with improvement didn't require an audience. His most grueling workouts happened when no cameras were present. He didn't need to prove his work ethic. His dominance on the court did that for him. Marie Curie. Curie didn't spend time promoting her research before it was complete. She worked in silence, driven by a purpose larger than applause. When her discoveries reshaped science, her results spoke for her. Early Apple. In its formative years, Apple's breakthroughs weren't teased or leaked for attention. Jobs and Wozniak built in silence, unveiling products only when they were ready to shock the world. Strategies to let actions speak. 1. Adopt a show, don't tell policy. Anytime you feel the urge to talk about what you're doing, pause. Ask yourself, can I show this through results instead? If the answer is yes, choose silence. Work until the results can't be ignored. 2. Celebrate in private. Learn to find joy in the act of progress itself, not in public recognition. When you hit a milestone, celebrate quietly. Let the satisfaction of effort and achievement be enough. 3. Protect the process. Every time you announce a plan, you invite opinions, doubts, and external noise into your process. Protect your work by keeping it close, until it's ready to stand on its own. 4. Track actions, not intentions. Keep a private record of what you actually do. Don't journal about how motivated you feel. Track what actions you took today. Build a visible log of execution. 5. Build a reputation of quiet consistency. Develop a reputation, not through promises, but through relentless delivery. Become known as the person who always shows up and delivers, without excuses, without hype. Final thought. Let silence amplify your impact. In a noisy world, silence amplifies power. When you move quietly and deliver relentlessly, your results cut through the noise, stronger, clearer, and more credible than any announcement ever could. The world doesn't remember what you plan to do. It remembers what you actually built. So stop telling the world what's coming. Stop looking for early applause. Stop performing progress. Just do the work, and let the results handle the introduction. The loudest flex is undeniable success, built in silence. Chapter 6. The Hidden Advantage. Why silent success is more powerful. Success in a world obsessed with visibility. Today's world is designed to make you think visibility is everything. We are constantly encouraged to build a brand, to document the journey, to show the process. Whether you're starting a business, pursuing fitness goals, or trying to master a craft, the message is the same. If you don't show it, it didn't happen. This thinking is a trap. The obsession with being seen disrupts the most powerful force in the world. Focused, undistracted execution. In the rush to keep the world updated, you end up spending more energy narrating your progress than actually making it. Meanwhile, the most powerful people in every field, the quiet builders, the silent masters, are working relentlessly behind closed doors. They understand a truth that most overlook. Silent success isn't just a mindset, it's a strategy. Silence is not passivity, it's a tactical advantage. Noise versus power. The attention paradox. There's a difference between attention and power. Attention is temporary. It's the flicker of interest people give you before moving on to the next loud voice. Power is enduring. It's the leverage, skill, and influence you build through consistent, disciplined execution, whether anyone is watching or not. The world rewards noise in the short term, but it rewards undeniable results in the long term. Those who understand this play a different game. They trade temporary attention for permanent positioning. The goal isn't to be seen working. The goal is to become so valuable that your results are impossible to ignore. The tactical advantages of moving in silence. 1. Freedom from expectation. The moment you announce your goals, you invite external pressure. People form expectations. They track your progress. They critique your methods. Even well-meaning support can subtly steer you away from your own intuition. But when you move silently, you are free. You have no audience to please, no timeline to defend, no image to maintain. You can pivot, experiment, fail quietly, and rebuild without anyone knowing. This freedom allows for genuine innovation, the kind that isn't shaped by public opinion. 2. The element of surprise. Visibility makes you predictable. The more you show your hand, the easier it is for competitors to anticipate, mimic, or block your moves. But when you work in silence, you become a ghost in the game, invisible, unpredictable, and impossible to pin down. No one can copy what they can't see. No one can block what they don't know is coming. Surprise is a competitive advantage, and silence is how you preserve it. 3. Protection from external negativity. The more you share, the more opinions you invite. And not all opinions are helpful. Some will doubt you. Some will project their fears onto you. Some will criticize for the sake of criticizing. When you move in silence, you protect your mental space from this noise. You create a sealed environment where your focus, confidence, and vision are preserved, untainted by external skepticism. Energy conservation, directing every drop into execution. Talking about progress burns energy. Explaining your plans drains focus. Defending your approach wastes time. Silent workers conserve all of that energy, redirecting it into execution. They understand that success isn't built from external validation. It's built from internal alignment. Every ounce of focus they save by not performing for the crowd gets reinvested into action, learning, and refinement. Over months and years, this conserved energy compounds into something the loud achievers never see coming. Real, unshakable mastery. The psychological superiority of private progress. There's a quiet power that comes from knowing you've made progress no one knows about. Every small, unannounced victory strengthens your self-trust. Every unseen breakthrough adds another layer to your quiet confidence. This private pride, the kind built when no one is watching, is infinitely more durable than the fragile confidence built on applause. When you don't need the world to know you're improving, you become unstoppable. There's nothing anyone can give you or take away, because your validation comes from your own evidence, not their opinions. Why most people can't resist oversharing. If silence is so powerful, why do so few people embrace it? The answer is simple: ego. Most people want to be seen trying. They want credit before the work is done. They want reassurance that they're on the right path. This need for constant validation weakens their work ethic. They work to be seen, not to be great. They chase approval instead of mastery. True silent achievers crush their ego early in the process. They realize that the need to be seen working is a sign of insecurity, not strength. When you truly believe in your path, you don't need an audience to confirm it. Case studies. Silent success in action. Example 1. The silent athlete. Some of the world's most dominant athletes have a signature characteristic: they disappear in the off-season. No training montages. No constant updates. Just quiet, disciplined work. When the season starts, they arrive transformed, faster, stronger, sharper, leaving the world wondering where the leap came from. The leap came from silence. Example 2. The quiet innovator. The most game-changing products and innovations are rarely announced in development. They are built quietly, shielded from public scrutiny, until they are too refined and too powerful to be ignored. This is how Apple, Tesla, and SpaceX have operated for years. Silence during innovation, shock when the product arrives. Example 3. The low-key entrepreneur. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world don't tweet every deal they make. They don't document every pivot. They simply build, negotiate, refine, and execute, quietly stacking advantage after advantage. By the time the public notices, their position is already unshakable. How to build your own silent success system. 1. Adopt a no announcement rule. Set a personal policy. No announcements until results are undeniable. Not every idea needs a tweet. Not every goal needs a post. 2. Shield your process. Create a private, protected space for your work. Whether it's a notebook, a digital workspace, or a room, make sure your creative environment is yours alone, free from external noise. 3. Share results, not plans. If you feel compelled to share something, make sure it's a finished product or an accomplished milestone, not a promise or a preview. 4. Track progress privately. You don't need external applause to track growth. Keep detailed records for yourself, a quiet, unfiltered archive of your progress, visible only to you. 5. Let silence build curiosity. Understand that silence is a magnet. When people know you're capable but have no idea what you're working on, they become curious. That curiosity, when paired with undeniable results, turns into respect. Final word. The quiet power no one can steal. The beauty of silent success is this. No one can take away what they don't know you have. Your work belongs to you. Your progress belongs to you. Your vision belongs to you. When you move in silence, you create an invisible fortress around your dreams, protecting them from noise, doubt, competition, and premature applause. The world is noisy. The loudest voices crave attention. The most powerful players crave results. Be the one who builds while others talk. Be the one who executes while others explain. Be the one who shocks the world, not with announcements, but with outcomes. Because in the end, silent success speaks the loudest. Chapter 7. Self-reliance. Becoming your own source of strength. The myth of support systems. We've all heard the popular narrative. Success requires a strong support system. You need mentors, accountability partners, cheerleaders, and a tribe that constantly pushes you forward. The world loves this romanticized idea of collective success, the notion that you need external forces to sustain internal progress. But the reality is far less glamorous. While guidance and community can be helpful, the most successful people in history have one defining trait: self-reliance. They didn't depend on constant validation, hand-holding, or external motivation. They became their own source of strength. If your ambition relies on external energy, it's vulnerable. The moment applause fades, your fire dims. The second your environment shifts, your progress stalls. But when you cultivate self-reliance, when you become the generator of your own momentum, nothing can break you. This chapter is about becoming unshakable by building strength from within, not from the world around you. Why dependency is a hidden weakness. Most people don't recognize how dependent they've become on external forces. Feedback, encouragement, accountability partners, even praise on social media. On the surface, these things feel helpful. But over time, they become a crutch, a fragile structure that holds up your motivation. Remove the crutch, and the whole system collapses. Self-reliance is the opposite. It's the ability to set your own standards. Push yourself when no one is watching. Generate momentum without external triggers. People who master self-reliance don't need constant pep talks or applause. They are self-fueling machines, driven by internal commitment rather than external validation. The internal contract, the deal you make with yourself. At the core of self-reliance is an internal contract, an unbreakable deal you make with yourself. This contract doesn't rely on public accountability or external eyes. It's private, personal, and permanent. The terms are simple. I show up every day. No excuses. No explanations. Whether anyone sees it or not. Whether anyone cares or not. Most people make commitments to others, to their coach, their boss, their followers. Self-reliant people make commitments to themselves, and that's the only contract they honor. This shift from external to internal accountability is the foundation of lasting power. The fragility of external motivation. Motivation is fleeting, especially when it comes from external sources. When praise disappears, so does your drive. When no one asks for updates, your effort fades. When others lose interest, so do you. This is why so many people start strong and fizzle out. Their effort was never fueled by personal standards. It was driven by external visibility. Self-reliant people build a different engine. Their work ethic isn't a performance. It's a private agreement with their own potential. It doesn't matter if anyone sees. It doesn't matter if anyone claps. They show up because it's who they are, not because someone's watching. Internal validation, the ultimate superpower. Most people rely on external validation to confirm they're on the right path. They need likes, compliments, and recognition to believe they're making progress. Without it, they start questioning themselves. Self-reliant people build their own validation system. They trust the evidence they create through consistent effort, not the opinions of others. They measure success by their own internal standards, not by how others react. This internal validation system makes them unstoppable. They don't need a constant stream of encouragement to keep going. Their own progress, however small or invisible, is enough. How self-reliance protects your goals. The more self-reliant you become, the more indestructible your goals become. When you no longer depend on public applause to feel worthy, friends checking in to stay disciplined, an audience to stay committed, you eliminate the biggest risk to long-term success, fragile motivation. With self-reliance, your goals belong entirely to you. No one can disrupt them. No one can take credit for them. And no one can slow them down. The emotional fortitude of self-reliance. There's a deep emotional strength that comes from knowing you can motivate yourself when no one believes in you. Push yourself when no one checks on you. Validate yourself when no one praises you. This emotional independence is rare. Most people are terrified to operate without a support system because they've never built one inside themselves. Self-reliant people aren't afraid to stand alone because they know their power doesn't come from the crowd. Case study: self-reliance in action. Elon Musk. While Musk is now surrounded by teams and attention, his foundational success was built in silence, coding alone, working overnight, relying on his own internal drive to launch his early companies. Serena Williams. Her dominance wasn't born from Instagram accountability posts. It was born from thousands of private training sessions. No audience, no applause, just relentless self-driven improvement. Maya Angelou. Angelou wrote in rented hotel rooms with no internet, no distractions, and no audience. Her masterpieces were the product of private discipline, not public visibility. The shift from seeking to generating. The transition to self-reliance requires a shift. From seeking external motivation to generating internal momentum. From chasing approval to creating private pride. From working to be seen to working to be skilled. It's a shift from being reactionary, adjusting your effort based on feedback, to being proactive, doing the work because it's non-negotiable. Practical ways to build self-reliance. 1. Set private standards. Define success for yourself, not based on what looks impressive, but what feels meaningful. Track progress privately, without performing for anyone. 2. Build a solitary practice. Develop rituals you do alone, training sessions, writing hours, study blocks. These private acts of discipline build the inner muscle of self-reliance. 3. Break the validation habit. If you catch yourself looking for reassurance, pause. Ask yourself, would I still do this if no one ever knew? That's the standard. 4. Learn to self-coach. When you hit a wall, don't look for someone to pull you up. Build the habit of coaching yourself through journaling, reflection, and personal review. 5. Celebrate invisible wins. When you meet a private milestone, honor it. No need to announce it, but privately acknowledge the win. This reinforces your self-trust. The freedom of radical independence. The ultimate reward of self-reliance is freedom. Freedom from external permission. Freedom from emotional dependence. Freedom from the need to be seen. You move differently when your strength comes from within. You're less reactive, less fragile, and less concerned with applause. You trust your path, even if no one else understands it. This internal freedom makes you dangerous, because there's nothing anyone can give or take that affects your ability to execute. Final word. When you need nothing, you become unstoppable. Most people need validation to feel worthy, accountability to stay disciplined, approval to believe in themselves. Self-reliant people need nothing. They trust themselves. They drive themselves. They validate themselves. Their progress belongs entirely to them, and because of that, no one can ever take it away. The ultimate power isn't public praise, it's private mastery. When you no longer rely on anyone to push you, you become someone who moves mountains quietly and doesn't need applause to keep going. Be your own source of strength. The world may never understand where it comes from, but they'll see the results when they're impossible to ignore. Chapter 8. The Long Game. Mastering Patience in a World Obsessed with Speed. Living in the age of instant everything. We live in a time where speed is worshipped. Instant delivery, instant communication, instant gratification. The world has been engineered to satisfy desires at the push of a button. This obsession with speed has infected every corner of modern ambition. People want fitness results in 30 days. They want businesses to succeed in 6 months. They want personal growth in the span of a motivational weekend. But anything truly valuable, anything meaningful and lasting, takes time. Success, mastery, wealth, deep personal transformation. These are marathon pursuits, not sprints. The impatient fail, not because they lack potential, but because they misunderstand the timeline of greatness. Patience. The master skill no one talks about. Patience isn't passive. It's not about sitting back and waiting. Real patience is active endurance, the willingness to work relentlessly without demanding immediate rewards. Patience is trusting the process long after excitement fades, putting in work when no results are visible, sticking to your principles when faster paths appear, choosing compounding progress over immediate gratification. Without patience, you'll quit when you're 3 feet from gold. With patience, you'll outlast 99% of people, because most aren't willing to endure long enough to see what's possible. Why the loud world hates patience. The culture of attention rewards fast visibility, not deep mastery. People who rush to show their progress, even if it's shallow, often get more attention than those building real skills in silence. Quick transformations get attention. Viral moments get praise. Instant hacks get clicks. But the loud world rarely rewards long-term builders. That's why most people give up when results aren't immediate. They've been conditioned to believe that if success doesn't come fast, it won't come at all. This is a lie. The most successful people in history, the true legends, weren't fast climbers. They were patient builders, playing a game most people are too restless to understand. The hidden power of the long game. 1. Time as an unfair advantage. When you commit to the long game, you activate a superpower, compounding returns. The longer you stick with a craft, skill, or business, the more leverage you build. Every hour of practice builds on the last. Every relationship compounds into opportunity. Every failure sharpens your instincts. The rewards of the long game are invisible at first, but they snowball into dominance over time. 2. Outlasting the competition. Most people quit after their first year, sometimes their first month. They lose interest when results don't come fast enough. Those who commit to the long game win by default, simply by being the last one standing. Businesses that survive a decade automatically dominate. Creators who consistently show up for years develop undeniable mastery. Skills honed over decades become impossible to compete with. The longer your timeline, the smaller your competition. 3. Time filters out the fakes. Impatient people chase shortcuts. They fake results for attention. They cut corners to look successful faster. But time always reveals who's real and who isn't. The fakes burn out, exposed by their own lack of substance. The patient builders thrive, because real results only grow over time. Patience as a competitive strategy. Most people chase quick wins because they want fast validation. They need proof immediately that they're on the right path. But the need for instant proof makes you fragile. If success doesn't show up quickly, self-doubt creeps in, and you pivot or quit. Patient builders don't need quick proof. They trust the process. They don't need daily evidence they're succeeding. They're playing a different game. This mindset, the ability to work in silence without immediate rewards, gives you a psychological edge. You're no longer in competition with people chasing dopamine hits. You're on a separate timeline, one where the only metric is long-term progress. Building the muscle of long-term focus. Patience isn't natural in a world of instant everything. It's a muscle, one you build deliberately. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. The more you resist the impulse for quick feedback, the stronger your patience becomes. The longer you endure without applause, the less you need it. Every time you stick to the process without visible progress, you're strengthening the mindset that separates great from average. The invisible phase of mastery. Every great achievement has an invisible phase, the years when nothing seems to happen. This phase destroys most people. They see the lack of results as failure, rather than the necessary price of greatness. What they don't realize is that the invisible phase is where the real work happens. Skills are built in obscurity. Businesses gain traction below the surface. Athletes sharpen fundamentals long before they dominate on game day. The longer you're willing to work in this invisible phase, the greater your advantage. Most people are too impatient to survive it. Why fast success is fragile. Quick success often collapses under its own weight. Without the foundation of time-tested skills, fast wins crumble when pressure hits. That's why viral creators often disappear. They built attention, not mastery. They hacked visibility, not competence. The long game builder is different. Their foundation is indestructible because it's been built brick by brick, not for quick applause, but for lasting strength. The world may ignore you in the beginning, but when your work finally breaks through, it will be too solid to tear down. Real-world examples of long game builders. J.K. Rowling. It took Rowling 7 years to write the first Harry Potter book. No viral thread, no Instagram updates, just years of quiet work. That patience turned into a global phenomenon. Warren Buffett. Buffett's fortune wasn't built on a quick trade. It was built through decades of compounding investments, each year building on the last. Wealth, like mastery, compounds over long timelines. Michelangelo. The Sistine Chapel took 4 years of painstaking labor, on his back, painting silently. Today, it's a masterpiece, not because it was fast, but because it was patiently crafted. How to train for the long game. 1. Commit to invisible progress. Accept that the most important work happens when no one sees it. Embrace the fact that progress might not be visible for months, even years, and show up anyway. 2. Shorten the feedback loop. Instead of seeking external validation, create your own private metrics of success. Track consistency, hours practiced, skills improved, not likes, views, or applause. 3. Focus on systems, not results. The goal isn't to hit arbitrary milestones. It's to master the daily systems that make progress inevitable. When you focus on systems, time becomes your ally, not your enemy. 4. Celebrate longevity. Every month you stay consistent is a victory, because most people won't last that long. Track your streaks, not your speed. 5. Detach from comparison. The long game is lonely, because most people are sprinting. Don't compare your timeline to anyone else's. Slow progress beats fast burnout. The patience flex, when time becomes your weapon. The ultimate flex isn't fast success. It's the ability to stay in the game longer than anyone else. When you trust that results compound over years, you stop chasing hacks. When you know most competitors will quit, You become patient by default. When you fall in love with process over outcome, you win, because you can't be rushed. Patience isn't passive. It's the ultimate sign of strength, the belief that your work is valuable, even before the world confirms it. Final word. Mastering the timeline of greatness. The greatest mistake you can make is expecting speed on a timeline that demands patience. Success doesn't follow the pace of likes or views. It follows the pace of mastery, slow, deliberate, and invisible at first. If you want to be great, accept this truth. There is no shortcut. There is no viral hack for mastery. There is no substitute for time in the trenches. But for those willing to play the long game, to work in silence, to endure the invisible years, and to trust that the process works even when no one's watching, the rewards are greater than anything instant success could offer. Master patience. Master your craft. Let time be your silent partner. Chapter 9. Discipline over drama. Crafting a life of quiet excellence. The addiction to noise and chaos. Modern life rewards the dramatic. Loud proclamations. Public feuds and rivalries. Announcements of every minor goal. Performative struggles designed to attract sympathy and attention. For many, the process of chasing success is more about being seen struggling than actually making progress. People document their obstacles like trophies. They exaggerate their grind to gain admiration. They wrap themselves in struggle narratives, not to grow, but to gain applause for how hard they're working. This addiction to drama over discipline is why so many people never actually reach their potential. Discipline is boring. It's quiet. It happens in silence, away from the spotlight. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't beg for applause. It just shows up every single day and does the work. Drama screams for attention. Discipline does the work quietly. The builders of quiet excellence know which path leads to real power. Why drama kills progress. 1. Drama consumes energy you could use for execution. Every ounce of energy spent crafting a narrative, explaining your struggle, or reacting to critics is energy stolen from your actual work. Arguing online doesn't sharpen your skills. Complaining about obstacles doesn't make you stronger. Performing the struggle doesn't bring you closer to your goals. The disciplined person channels all that energy into focused action. They don't need to perform their grind. They're too busy living it. 2. Drama creates emotional instability. When you tie your progress to external drama, criticism, applause, comparisons, you become emotionally fragile. Your motivation rises and falls based on external noise, not internal standards. Discipline anchors you in internal stability. Whether the world praises or ignores you, you still show up. Whether it's easy or brutal, you still show up. Whether anyone understands your process or not, you still show up. That's the strength drama will never give you. 3. Drama seeks validation. Discipline seeks mastery. People who thrive on drama aren't really chasing success. They're chasing witnesses to their struggle. They want people to see how hard they're working because external validation is more important to them than actual results. The disciplined person works in silence because they're not performing for anyone. Their goal isn't applause, it's mastery. They care more about becoming great than about being seen trying. Discipline, the quiet engine of every great life. What discipline actually means. Discipline isn't about brute force. It's not about grinding yourself into the ground. True discipline is prioritizing long-term progress over short-term comfort, showing up when no one's watching, building habits that make action automatic, mastering yourself so external noise doesn't control your behavior. It's consistency without ceremony, effort without excuses, progress without performance. The disciplined person doesn't need drama because they trust the process more than they need attention. The emotional strength built through discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, whether anyone sees it or not, you strengthen your self-respect. That self-respect turns into quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to be performed because it's real. Discipline teaches you that your work matters even if no one claps for it, that you are capable even when you don't feel like it, that your potential is unlocked through small, consistent acts, not grand dramatic gestures. This inner strength is the foundation of quiet excellence, the kind of power that doesn't need to be advertised. Drama is loud, excellence is silent. Drama seeks immediate validation. Look at me working. Look how hard this is. See how much I sacrifice. Drama is desperate for witnesses. It can't exist without an audience. Excellence is the opposite. Excellence doesn't need to explain itself. Excellence doesn't beg for recognition. Excellence is the quiet result of relentless execution. The people who quietly master their craft become undeniable. They don't have to prove they're excellent. Their results do all the talking. The discipline-drama divide. Drama path, discipline path. Seeks attention and applause, seeks mastery and improvement. Relies on external motivation, builds internal resilience. Needs struggle to be witnessed, prefers quiet, invisible work. Is emotionally reactive, is emotionally grounded. Starts strong, fades fast, sustains effort for years. Drama is a sprint fueled by attention. Discipline is a marathon fueled by internal purpose. The secret freedom of a drama-free life. Drama chains you to the crowd. Discipline frees you to focus entirely on your craft. You don't waste energy defending your process. You don't explain yourself to doubters. You don't chase applause for every small step. You don't collapse when applause fades. All your energy stays where it belongs, on the work itself. This freedom allows for deeper focus, faster growth, and unshakable self-respect. How discipline crafts quiet excellence. 1. Systems over feelings. Disciplined people don't wait to feel motivated. They build systems that make action inevitable. When you don't have to decide whether to work, you just do. You eliminate the emotional friction that slows most people down. 2. Detachment from drama. Disciplined people aren't easily pulled into distractions. They protect their time, energy, and mental space with ruthless clarity. If it doesn't contribute to their craft, they let it go. 3. Focused daily reps. Excellence isn't built in breakthroughs. It's built in small, focused reps done consistently over years. The disciplined person understands that every small act compounds, even if no one sees it. 4. Self-trust over external noise. When you consistently show up for yourself, you no longer need external validation. You become your own proof. This self-trust makes you unshakable. No critic can shake what they didn't help build. Case study: Masters of Quiet Excellence. Kobe Bryant. Kobe's legendary work ethic wasn't a public performance. His 4 a.m. workouts were rarely seen. His discipline lived in the dark, and the results spoke on game day. Maya Angelou. Angelou's writing process was deeply private. No cameras, no performance, just quiet discipline, day after day, until the words were ready to speak for themselves. Warren Buffett. Buffett's investment genius wasn't broadcast in daily updates. His quiet, patient discipline, reading, thinking, acting consistently over decades, is what built his legacy. Building a life of discipline over drama. 1. Stop performing your work. You don't need to tell people you're grinding. Just grind. Let the work speak. 2. Kill the need for witnesses. If you need people to see your struggle to feel validated, you've already lost power. Make the process personal, between you and your potential. 3. Set discipline standards. Define what daily discipline looks like, and honor it regardless of how you feel. 4. Protect your focus. Drama will always try to pull you in. Protect your mental space with ruthless clarity. If it doesn't serve your craft, cut it off. 5. Celebrate private wins. When you hit a milestone, celebrate, but do it quietly. Let the satisfaction come from the work itself, not external applause. Final word: the legacy of quiet excellence. The loudest people rarely leave the deepest impact. Noise fades. Attention shifts. Drama burns out. But quiet excellence endures. It doesn't need to be explained or performed. It's self-evident, the undeniable result of disciplined effort, executed relentlessly, without begging for attention. Build a life of quiet excellence. Let the loud ones chase applause. You'll have something better, unshakable mastery and respect that doesn't depend on anyone noticing. Because in the end, drama dies. Discipline endures. And real excellence speaks for itself. Chapter 10. Legacy in Silence. Leaving a mark without seeking attention. The illusion of legacy in the age of visibility. Today, the concept of legacy has been twisted. People confuse being remembered with being constantly seen. They assume that visibility, followers, viral moments, and constant digital presence guarantees they'll be remembered long after they're gone. But attention is fleeting. Visibility fades. Legacy, real legacy, isn't built on noise. It's built on impact. A true legacy doesn't depend on how loudly you lived. It depends on the depth of what you built, the lives you touched, and the excellence you left behind, whether or not your face or name was attached to it. Most people chase the shallow version of legacy, being known. The wise few pursue the real version, creating something that outlives them. Why the loudest are rarely remembered. History remembers those who built, not those who shouted. The people who constantly crave attention, who make noise about their every step, rarely leave anything behind that matters. Why? Because attention-seeking devours energy. It shifts focus away from substance and toward performance. When your focus is split between becoming great and being seen trying to become great, you never fully master either. True legacy comes from quiet builders, those who commit to the work itself, not to documenting the journey for applause. The world remembers what you built, not how loudly you talked about building it. The nature of silent legacy. Silent legacy is the most powerful form of impact because it's rooted in contribution, not self-promotion. It's built by those who obsess over mastery, not recognition, build systems, solutions, and value that speak louder than their names. Focus on work so good it commands respect without explanation. These are the builders, the thinkers, the quiet leaders whose work outlives them, even if most people never know their full story. The difference between attention and influence. Most people think influence comes from visibility. The opposite is true. Real influence, the kind that shapes industries, transforms communities, and shifts culture, comes from substance, not visibility. A brilliant product can change an industry, even if no one knows the creator's name. A quiet mentor can reshape countless lives without ever stepping into the spotlight. A disciplined innovator can build systems that function long after they're gone, with or without credit. Loud visibility may create followers, but deep work creates foundations. And foundations, not fame, are the true markers of legacy. Why silent builders last longer? There's another reason silent builders leave deeper legacies. They are free to focus entirely on the work. The attention seeker spends energy feeding the algorithm, maintaining their image, crafting public narratives to sustain interest. Their work is constantly shaped by what plays well in public. The silent builder is immune to these pressures. They build what matters, not what's trending. They solve problems deeply, not perform solutions for applause. They play the long game, while the attention seeker burns out in the performance cycle. This freedom, to work unburdened by public opinion, allows for deeper impact, which always translates to a more lasting legacy. Quiet mastery becomes its own monument. The highest form of legacy isn't what people say about you, it's the undeniable excellence you leave behind. The architect whose buildings outlast centuries. The writer whose words still echo generations later. The entrepreneur whose innovations continue shaping industries long after they're gone. These legacies were built quietly, piece by piece, with no need for constant validation. The work itself became the monument, and the world remembers, not because they were told to, but because the results are too powerful to forget. Letting your work speak beyond your lifetime. The loud legacy chaser constantly reminds the world of their importance. The silent builder lets time do the talking. Because here's the truth. The work you do today, if done with mastery, consistency, and purpose, will echo far beyond your lifetime. The student you mentor may go on to change the world. The business system you create may become the foundation for countless others. The discipline you model may inspire generations long after you're gone. When you prioritize substance over spotlight, your work doesn't just serve you, it becomes a force that lives on without you. The ego trap. Why most people chase fame instead of legacy. Most people don't want legacy, they want credit. They don't want to build things that last, they want to be recognized for building them. This is why so few leave anything lasting. When ego drives the work itself is hollow. It exists to feed the builder's need for applause, not to solve a meaningful problem or serve a larger purpose. Silent builders operate differently. They are detached from personal glory. They care more about what gets built than who gets credit for it. That detachment gives them an unfair advantage. They can pursue excellence with no ego-driven distractions. Case studies. Silent builders who left legacies. Nikola Tesla. Tesla's work powers the modern world, but he died broke and largely forgotten in his time. Yet, because his contributions were undeniable, his legacy outlived him. His name is now synonymous with innovation. The builders of ancient cathedrals. Many medieval cathedrals, architectural wonders still standing today, were built by artisans whose names history forgot. Their work, however, is immortal. Teachers and mentors. Some of the greatest human legacies come from teachers, people whose names are unknown outside their small circles, but whose influence ripples across generations through the students they shaped. The freedom of detached legacy. The highest form of mastery is the ability to work, not for credit, not for applause, but for the pure satisfaction of building something real. Detached legacy is about creating value for its own sake, investing in work that outlives your personal relevance, trusting that time will reveal the value of your contributions, even if you don't live to see it. This level of detachment is rare, but it's the key to building things that last. Practical ways to build silent legacy. 1. Focus on systems, not credit. Build processes, tools, and solutions that serve others, even if your name is never attached to them. 2. Teach quietly. Mentor others without needing public credit. Your real legacy will live in the people you influence, not the praise you collect. 3. Prioritize impact over applause. Ask yourself daily, am I building something that will last or something that will trend? Align your work with what lasts. 4. Document for utility, not fame. Leave behind knowledge, processes, and principles that others can use, rather than just stories about how hard you worked. 5. Measure legacy in lives touched. The most enduring legacy isn't fame, it's the number of people you empower, inspire, or transform through your work. Legacy as a byproduct, not a goal. The best legacies aren't planned. They are the natural result of relentless mastery and meaningful contribution. You don't chase legacy, you chase excellence. You don't demand to be remembered, you demand that your work solves real problems. You don't need to control the narrative, you trust that great work tells its own story. The moment you stop obsessing over how you'll be remembered, you unlock the freedom to focus entirely on doing work worthy of remembrance. Final word. Let your work outlive you. In the end, the goal isn't to have people chant your name. It's to have your work, your ideas, your example, and your values ripple forward, touching lives long after you're gone. Silent legacy is the most powerful legacy, because it doesn't depend on anyone remembering you. It depends only on the value you created and the excellence you modeled. Build quietly. Work with purpose. Detach from credit. Create something that will outlive you. Because in the end, the loudest legacies don't come from noise, they come from quiet mastery that becomes undeniable over time.